Hello, everybody, and welcome back to week number 5 of stage 3 of the Quake Pro League. My name's Ketchup, joined by Lethal today, and it's going to be psygib versus Sib as our next matchup. So it's going to be quite interesting for a map number 1. It's definitely a clash of styles, I suppose you could say. psygib, absolutely one of the most talented players in the Americas. And Sib has done a great job of kind of re-establishing himself in Pro League. It was great to see him re-qualify and get through those relegation matches at IEM Katowice Stage 2 finals. But now it is kind of straight back into the grind, really. You're now going up against the best in your region, and you've got to make sure that you're giving it your A game. And against someone like psygib, you have to do that because he's damn good.
Yeah, he's not a slow player, but he's a methodical and really well calculated player. You know, he's come top 8 at the stage 1 finals, and then stage 2 finals got top 6. So he's been getting better and better, and he's slowly but surely, I would say, like crawling towards the hangs kind of level. But even at this stage, Sib, I watched him quite a lot before the stage 2 finals. I was watching a lot of his streams, just kind of like how he plays, and you know, he's very fluid, very aggressive. You know, when the opportunity comes, he does take it in every way, shape, or form. But he's also very clever. He's got to be really careful of the kind of moves he does actually make. And Sib could more than well actually cause an upset if possible.
For sure, because a lot of it also comes down to sometimes his confidence level. Because Sib is one of those. The difference is too, I think, is experience levels. Sib is one of those newer players to sort of like just a competitive level of Quake, whereas psygib has been around for like bloody ages. He's one of the real sort of like older school American players out there right now, and that sometimes can make a huge difference in like a competitive setting, because the more seasoned you are in a high level tournament environment, the more, I guess, free flowing you can feel in a competitive setting. There's like less nerves there. There's less kind of like emphasis on, oh, this is a tournament match, so I've got to make sure I'm playing. Like, you don't really think about it. You just do your thing because you have those natural skills over years and years and years of just being developed. Pick and ban. I'm really excited for the first map. Down to the champions alone, because it's going to be Clutch versus Scale Bearer. That is not a matchup you see every day. A bit of a throwback to a couple years ago, seeing Clutch on the ruins of Sarnath, if I'm going to be completely honest. Corrupted Keep, a bit more traditional. We have the Ison versus the Ranger. And then Vale of Nath, Keel, which is a popular pick from psygib, has got a fantastic Keel, but going up against Athena, which is, again, like I'm just excited to see how Sib approaches a champion like that. Very execution heavy, very glass cannon against Keel, who he can take a beating.
Yeah, seeing Athena on Vale, like, I'm curious to see how Sib will do. He likes his fast-paced champions. That's why he does have to clutch in Athena anyway. Normally, I've seen him play a Slash a few times on Ruins, but like, I think he decided to change his mind there. But I looked at the bans, and they're just the typical bans. I know that Sib is really good at Molten Falls. Like, anytime he has the opportunity to play it, he seems to beat most of his opponents. Like, you know, he's played against the Hang. I think he might have beat him on it. I'm not 100% sure, but I think like 80-90% of the time it's Molten Falls. Sib normally wins them, like it's by one frag or by just a few. And one of the better maps for psygib is Awoken. And funny enough, that's been banned straight away as well. So it looks like they have done a lot of research in terms of their map choices, the map picks, the score lines, how well they've been doing. So the bans are kind of what we expected in terms of how things have progressed here. But I'm also looking forward to the Clutch versus Scale Bearer and Ruins and see how that pans out. And even for Corrupted Keep, the Eisen on Corrupted Keep is such a nuisance. Such a nuisance. It is a real pain in the backside. So we'll have to see how psygib approaches it with the Eisen as well. But yeah, the Bear with the Athena, yeah, 100%, completely agree. How would he actually approach it from there? That would be another question we'll have to find out. And one last thing I want to add is with Sib, how does he actually approach the match just in general? Like, is he going to be super aggressive, or is he going to play it really slow, really passive, and try and catch psygib off guard rather than the opposite way around?
Well, I mean, if you're going to try and catch someone off guard, sometimes the best way to do that can be right at the beginning of a map or at the start of a series, where it's, I guess, arguably less punishing because you've got time to work with to kind of get back up. But there's an understanding that, well, if this doesn't go right, I put myself behind almost immediately. Also, I'm actually really hyped because we're seeing one of our first Quake Pro League skins, and that's going to be absolutely sick from the Clutch. But this is a very popular Americas map. We see a lot more of the American players rock the ruins of Sarnath on like a consistent level. But I'm going to be checking out Sib first, who's got the heavy spawn. but I mean, we're talking about stack all day. There is a lot of stack between these two champions.
It should be a good one nonetheless. You're absolutely right though. In EU, you normally see maps like Blood Run and a couple of others here and there appear quite often, but yeah, you are right though. The larger map pool you normally see on the NA circuit, but Sib at this stage of time is trying to find a way to try and claw himself forward into the hands of psygib, but it looks like he hasn't really decided which approach he wants. He's trying to play really aggressive anyway, managed to get that mega. Surely this is a frag from here. Yes, it is. Lovely stuff by Sib, and gets the heavy on top of things. Looking good as to start things off.
Now, some people may not know this, but Sib does put a lot of time into clutch. It is a champion that he's been grinding kind of just along his own journey for quite a while. I know he was quite disappointed actually at the stage 2 finals at IEM Katowice, because he was trying to really kind of keep it somewhat of a secret that he was playing clutch, but people just banned it out consistently against him anyway. But it's a champion that he's been really pioneering for a while, and I'm not really surprised to see Clutch made it through the ban process. Well, we're just going to rock it. You know, we're going to use it in this kind of situation. And this isn't really a map that Clutch would struggle on. There's a lot of room to maneuver. Speed makes a huge difference on Ruins because it is one of the larger maps in the game for sure. But important locations with a shield wall can really make or break certain pickups, particularly around the heavy. It's been that way for years now since we've started seeing Quake. Competitive Quake champions has existed. Shield and Clutch on this map has been irritating. So it's mega now for Sib.
It seems like now he's just waiting patiently. He's still trying to corner him off here and there, but I'm not gonna lie, Ryan, I do love the new skins for the Rare and the LG in the recent update.
I just love the fact that these players rock all the new skins all the time. I think they just like it to be a little bit refreshing sometimes. Some players do it mechanically, like I know Rafa, uses the freeze gun because he thinks the projectile of the freeze gun is more visually accurate to where the hitbox is and stuff. But some players are just like, you know what, I like how it looks, or I like how it sounds.
See, I don't know, it can be a bit of a weird one, but as I said, the LG fight does occur and Sib does win and manage to take him off. And he does head into a 2-1 advantage. But yeah, going back to that, yeah, you are right though. It depends on a certain person. Like, some people may prefer the looks and make him a bit more comfortable. Some people may prefer the outcome and how it looks in different scenarios and prefer it. It can be a bit of a weird one. Each to their own, you could say. But it looks like Sib will be trying to take him down, but it's not going to be the case. That Bull Rush does tank a lot of that damage and manage to clean things up. So psygib does at least equalise things for now.
It's the element of two large champions too, where if one champion can kind of barely scrape by on a frag, you've got to be quite careful because spawning with a massive stack and the refrag possibilities. That said though, Sib immediately on the back foot here. And aggressive there from psygib. The shield wall used to try and survive. Unfortunately going to be wasted, so now very little stack to work with at the beginning. No weapons and no shield wall at all. And understandably, psygib is going to be aggressive and Sib messes up the jump. Tries to escape, goes into a wall instead. psygib happy to punish, and he's given himself a lead here. It might be early days, but that can sometimes be enough if you've got good pressure.
Oh, this is a huge stack. I'm really worried for Sib at this point in time. He needs to really be careful on what fights he takes here. Well, psygib will continue to increase his lead, but for the time being, psygib does have a slight height advantage, but decides to drop down anyway to try and fall out Sib, but Sib just has none of it. He's going to try and contest the heavy anyway. He doesn't psygib, but will be walking away with it once again. And I feel for the time being, Ketchup, it seems like at this point in time, Sib's just trying to figure out a way to try and keep away from him, let alone take some chip damage there. And as I say, that does get one little wear off.
He is going to have the advantage for movement. That is one of the key factors. If he's able to really keep his range and make sure he doesn't give up too many angles. That's going to be the danger here. If one rail doesn't quite hit its mark, psygib's going to be able to punish that. And you can see psygib's movement, like, he's in this position where he's looking for a rail shot, but he really can't overextend, because the second he gives psygib an angle, psygib can take it. However, in and out for the Mega, but the second the Bull Rush knocked him down, no chance to fight. And it has perfectly timed in a sense that psygib has been able to not only force him away from when the Mega was taken, there was no fight there. The fight happens a little bit later with the shield wall gone. So again, Sib has to sit, disengage, think about what he's doing. There's no audio to be had, so it's fair to assume that psygib's pretty far away, and he's correct. psygib is pretty substantially far here. But they're going for another fight. psygib misses the rail, and Sib is wise to actually sees the rail, misses, and realizes this is his time to go in, hits a rail, but guess what? psygib managed to get that stack down really low, and depending on the spawn, we might see a refrag almost immediately.
I can't believe he actually even got away with that in that kind of scenario. That was absolutely ridiculous. Well played there from Sib. That was exactly what he needed. It was in a difficult position due to psygib. His stack was so large. Sib had to at least get 2 rails up before he can try and properly contest the heavy on a number of occasions. But at this point, Sib needs to keep away. He needs to keep building that stack up more and more and keep tabs on where psygib is for now. But slowly but surely, he is balancing the stacks out a little bit more coming into this.
Sib has hit some really good rails. And I know that Sib, the rail, is actually one of the weapons he kind of prides himself on the most. Any conversation you have, and if he's feeling confident, one of the first things he'll usually say is, "Oh yeah, my rail's really good right now. I'm feeling great." When the rail in a matchup like this can matter a great deal. It's going to be Bull Rush versus Midair. What a fight there from Sib, who's been able to tie things up. He is quite weak though, so we still got to be careful. But that was a clean little turnaround. Doesn't want to give himself away. Cute. Very cute.
Yeah, I love that especially. I thought to myself, maybe his hitbox is too large. His character model would be too large for it to be seen there. But maybe it would have been, maybe it's not. But if only see a tiny glimpse of it, even then he would have cool. But it seems like he was very lucky to survive. And I think psygib probably would have made the assumption that he's definitely moved on since then into another position. But no, Sib actually stayed in the exact same spot.
It might be because he rotated himself too. I know Clutch, he passively stands with his kind of arms spread out. So if you're rotating diagonally into the wall, there's always a chance that your hand might go inside it, which might hide it a little bit. But wish I could have seen that from psygib's angle just in case. But another rail. And as long as Sib is hitting these rails, especially like this, he's hitting rails that aren't returned. And the double back. He's fast. He's able to pressure. No! Hits the grounded rocket jump. That was not a rocket jump he wanted on purpose, that's for sure. He was looking for damage.
My word, that was extremely close. At least he managed to pull back at the right time and the right moment. But he's going to try and contest for that heavy anyway. He's so weak, and just as he ball rushes it, he just missed it. And my word, Sib finally takes the lead. Disgusting well to avoid that play. He's going to try and finish it once more, and he does. 6-4 now in favour of Sib. The fact that he bull rushed and missed that heavy by half a second, you hate to see it, really.
A fatal error, and it could even be a map losing error at the same time. Sib has been playing this map phenomenally. He's been hitting every single shot he needs to. Only a couple of choices to go and haven't really worked, but other than that, psygib has been able to get the heavy, but the chase is on. Bonus rail. He knows that psygib's going to be weak. Quite bold to go through the jump pad. Even with that, though, you're going to take some guaranteed damage. But guess what? It's the stack. All about the stack. Sib, comfortable with how much he has to work with. These rails. How many rails has he hit in a row now? Again! Reactionary flick. Can he finish the job? He can indeed. psygib drops again. This is so good for Sib. One of the best Sib maps I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Normally I expect something like some molten falls, but at this point in time, it should be illegal for him to be using the rail at this point in time. It's absolute madness.
Oh my god.
And the LG as well. My goodness, accuracy across the board is just phenomenal. And not only that, I don't think it's the sort of guy you want to match up in Instagib.
Absolutely not. How many rails has Sib managed to hit in a row? And some of these have been not easy at all. He's going to pop the shield wall. The danger, really, when you're constantly getting damaged, looking for another cheeky rail. Goes in for the flick. Inches away from hitting its mark. He's going to go in again, psygib. No Man's Land has hit some rails. Oh, hang on a minute. This could be an opening. Misses a shot. Bull rush. Oh, no. Can't quite hit it, Lethal.
Oh, I was holding on to my seat there. I was literally worried about the circumstances.
He's too weak, though, Lethal. He's too weak.
He was. But at this point in time, he needs to be seriously careful. psygib. He may have got a frag back, but even then, it's just too little too late. 30 seconds left on the clock. And even then, I think it's a little bit too much, especially with the default health and armor you start with here. But 20 seconds left, but the talking point is Sib is rails. He's barely ever missed. I look forward to seeing what his accuracy is after this game, as well as the amount he actually shot. But it's just not really giving psygib much of a chance. You know, they had a little bit of back and forth here and there going toe-to-toe. But it just wasn't the case. Sib did a really good job making sure to continue the aggression after each and every fight. That GGs will come in. That is map number 1 all done and dusted. And Sib, I said it before the series, potential chance for an upset, and it's really starting to show.
And we were talking about the accuracy. It was a 52% rail, although he fired a huge amount of them, which kind of, to me, goes to show the impact of the rails that he hit. You know, when the time came to hit that shot to either prevent psygib from being able to chase, back when Sib was on the back foot at the very least, versus the times where now he's chasing and he's being crazy aggressive. The important shots were absolutely like bang on the money. And it was just a good knowledge of how to approach. It was that one moment right near the end of the map where he just wasn't missing at all. And if you're in psygib's situation, that can only really be quite stressful. There was that crucial error. I mean, what really, I think, potentially sealed psygib's fate was that one miscalculation where he tried to bull rush through heavy, mistimed it by like half a second, ran right past it, got punished, and then Sib got the heavy. I mean, that really was kind of the beginning of the end, and a really map-losing mistake that Sib capitalized on. It was impressive stuff, and I truly think that's one of the best maps that we've seen him play in all of Quake Pro League.
Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, completely agree. The momentum was definitely in his favor straight afterwards. Even if he took that heavy, I think Sib would have still won that fight due to the HP left on psygib at the time. But even then, though, yeah, that half a second, because he managed to pick up the heavy afterwards, he can keep a balanced stack. Maybe if he took it and he still lost, it would have been on the default HP and armor, depending on where he spawns and which weapons he starts off with as it goes around the block. Maybe he could have at least traded off afterwards. But even then, it was very difficult to call. But yeah, the Sib we were watching during that second half, it was like his rail went from like 30 to 40% in the first half. And in the second half of that match, it seemed to be, yeah, just a Sib show, just literally 78% of the rails hitting every single time, just making matters so much worse. But he knew that he had to hit at least 2 rails until he can try and execute a plan to attack psygib afterwards, because psygib's stack throughout the first half of the map was just ridiculous.
Well, it just goes to show that Sib has got like one of those kind of hidden clutches. To me, it is a champion that he's been playing for a while, and I know he had every intention of really bringing it out a lot more than perhaps he had the chance to at stage 2 finals. But hey, during these weeklies, it's an opportunity to see it in action, and we got a good demonstration, I think. Corrupted Keep is going to be up next. Ranger versus Ison is going to be the champion picks. But that was just one map. You know, psygib, he is going into this as the favorite to win. If Sib's able to win this map, I will consider it a massive upset, but also a celebration of just how one player can climb.
Yeah, I completely agree. psygib, we know, is one of the better players in the North American scene, so a win here would be fantastic to see as we head into map number 2 now. As psygib already gets that mega, goes for the LG straight afterwards. Let's see what we can do here, but already a very aggressive push there from Sib, and Sib pushed straight in, cleans things up nicely. My goodness, what a way to start the map.
It's Sib, there's no fear. There is absolute confidence coming from this guy who just takes out psygib again. 2 times in a row. Gets a spawn to get some early damage, but you got to be really careful with some of those spawn traps. Someone spawns near nail and you don't have a massive stack, they can still take you out if they get some good shots. And psygib was able to actually not only fight his way off, but Sib's not in the most amazing of positions because he's out of armor. And that can be quite scary when psygib's looking at the stack he's working on. Dual wield is locked and loaded too. Sib can be deleted if he wants to.
As long as he just plays it calm and patiently and just looking out for that audio, not to jump on too much. So he does get the first light armor. And I'm not too sure if the second one will be up or even taken. Maybe it has been taken already. We'll find out soon enough. But Sib is just playing mind games with him at this point. Just keep him busy so he can pick up the heavy, which he does. Decent enough stack, but psygib isn't really too far off him either. So Sib needs to decide exactly how to push out. But the lovely LG shots there, even though psygib does take the mega to try and get away. But Sib is just all over him at this point. It's slow, but very effective.
Gonna get some entry damage, teleports to it, but psygib with the backing off, not so likely to be able to return it as easily. That was a tricky position. Sib, if he was able to get some of that opening damage, then perhaps, but I think reaching a bit too far for that one. psygib unlikely to get caught and fresh off the spawn. Sib is not in the most amazing of situations, but the mission to go straight for the mega was a great choice. It really was, because as long as he can pepper out that damage and then even the odds with the mega that then psygib can't get access to. Oh my god, again! What is going on here, Lethal? Sib just bringing the A game today.
That was beautiful. He's just making matters worse, catch him off guard again on spawn. His stack is still reasonable, just got to try and keep away from the weapons, which he won't for the time being. psygib does have the rockets for now, but Sib is just trying to keep him at bay. Even though it takes the Mega, it did take a lot of damage, so Sib could easily win this fight, and he knows so too, so he could try and push in. Cleans him out quite well with the LG, but even then, both players are at similar stack. But as I said, but my word, cleans him up straight away. Lovely fragger from psygib to finish things up, but even then he's still a few frags behind, but still plenty of time left to try and at least equalize in some way.
It was a perfect push though, understanding that if I have 2 LGs out and he does choose to go back up the jump pad, I mean, it really has to be a done deal, and it absolutely was. Jumping down, getting some immediate damage. Good timing again there from Sib. He's keeping that timing just consistently on his mind, right? And that's one of the things that's kind of giving him the ace in a lot of these fights is when the Mega spawns, he's either in position for it perfectly or he's just able to get in and out and steal it. And he knows that any damage he takes before it is worth taking if he can get the Mega, because then he's won the fight. And every single time he's gone for that, it has worked so far. We've only been in for 3 minutes and Sib has got some crucial Mega steals at the last second.
Some very spicy plays here, there, and everywhere from Sib. I love the aggression from him. I've said it before. The amount of times I've watched him play on stream or just during the Pro League, he's really shown what he's made of here. And at this point in time, psygib's just going to play it slow. I've said it before. He always has to play quite methodically, but this may buy him just a little bit. But Sib manages to survive barely for the skin of his teeth, only on 50-something HP. But psygib gets to heavy, and he's, as you can see, trying to track him down. But will he be able to finish him off here? The LG, lovely LG from Sib, even though that's
not much rocket damage.
No, I'm very surprised about that.
There was a situation there for psygib, but it was just a severe lack of damage able to be distributed that allowed Sib to just sit there and take it away. And now with the heavy battle spawn, Sib likely should be able to run in and take this. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be no contest here yet, and barely any split between the 2 items. psygib was looking for an opportunity to get some damage first and get some information before running in. Pushes Sib far away, but psygib has been trying to play a slower game. Sib is just not afraid to fight, and he's been bringing some absolutely insane damage out of the table. And psygib, you'd never have believed he's just taken the Mega. He's able to back off, and thanks to BJ's passive, he can sometimes, go back to the next 25 stack, but right now, Sib is just bullying and caught by a crucial rocket just to push him away. That was enough time to just guarantee a heavy. A nice rocket to land, and he's going in for the kill.
Seems like at this point, Sib is just after a brawl. Like, he's not even playing passive in the slightest. This is the first time we've seen him playing passive. Just due to the fact that he had no choice, but a lovely all bear to pass through to avoid being trapped, because at that point in time, psygib had him on the ropes until that little play happened. But at this time being, psygib would wait for the next heavy, which he does pick up, but now he's going to try and get to that Mega before Sib does. Will he be able to? Sib is waiting and play, but lovely LG there to keep him back and do a lot of damage. But Sib can easily clean up, but my word, the rocket from him. Surely he's going to get the frag. Yes, he will. Sib, again, cleans up nicely, up 7-2.
They're going to get some early damage off the spawn, but psygib is like, you know what, mate, nah, I don't want nothing to do with that. I'm out. See ya. He is out of there. But it is the fight. It's consistently damage. And how much of it Sib is able to pump out. psygib is able to take that fight. And he gets a heavy for his trouble. There should be some health around. And this is potentially an opening here. Instantly turned around. The Dire Orb has other plans. psygib has a lot more cover, but tries to escape. And can he get away with his life? He can temporarily, and he's able to heal up thanks to BJ. What a rocket placement. Sib not out of hell just yet. And this is an interesting fight, Harry. That could have gone either way right there, but Sib, danger. He's in danger because he needs armor.
Yeah, both of these put it. Speaking of devil, actually, yeah, he's got himself right there. But he's going to try and contest the Mega again. Doesn't get it, but at least if their damage is done and managed to take him down in the end. It's very difficult to say here. Sib slowly losing that lead more and more, but it's just got to try and fight back in some ways. Maybe he's got to play a little bit more defensive, but it's very difficult on Crux to keep, depending on the circumstances. But the try bowls so far from psygib have just been next to none. They're always doing damage, always predicting the right move and the right plays of what Sib is actually doing. But Sib has slowly started to notice that, and he is going to try and see what he can do here. But as I say, that the LG comes through the psygib, gets so much damage done. What can psygib do here? Gets one rocket out, but just barely misses that other one. And
he went for the miracle.
So weak here. 4 HP left, and psygib finally takes him down after a long, drawn-out fight.
I think Sib's going to be a little bit more disappointed about that fight than some might realize, purely because he had a really good idea. He'd thrown the dire orb right before taking the heavy, and he was just a tiny bit short of being able to get the dire orb through the crack, which would have teleported him directly onto Mega Rim right before the fight happened. If he was able to get that and get the jump on, that tiny amount of stack that was left in the fight would have been enough to have just disappeared before the fight even happened. Sib probably would have won that fight if he didn't mess up the orb, but he lost his source of damage. It really is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a real shame in those situations, but those situations happen, sadly. At this point in time, as psygib is just patiently waiting for him. Just pausing on the flank, but Sib is keeping him on his toes. It's not being too predictable. Before, he was going all out, trying to push out some of his bouts, but it wasn't the case. But psygib is definitely more than ready this time round, but he's definitely not going to take that fight. Both players are an equal advantage, you can say the least. But psygib is still keeping his distance for now. He's playing that methodical play he enjoys most, but he can't do it for too long. He's only got 1 minute and 45 left on the clock here.
Quite a crucial couple of minutes for Sib. He is less than 2 minutes away from causing what is going to be a massive upset here. This is not a result you would expect to happen. If it's going to be a 2-0 for Sib, it's going to be a real celebration of how far he's come as a player. psygib has been on quite a tear recently. He's been a really strong player. Immediately using the dire orb. The jump pad was used. psygib going for the forbidden fruit, a little bit too hungry for that. But Sib, perfect use of the dire orb just to prevent that tiny little piece of guaranteed damage to evade. And it's a good thing he doesn't go through the teleporter immediately. However, there's an opportunity here for psygib. This is tense, Lethal. There's not much of this map. 1 minute left of the map, and if Sib can survive for 1 minute without giving up a frag, this is going to be a huge upset on our hands and a fantastic result for Sib. Can he do it, Lethal? What do you think? Do you have faith? Are you confident?
I think Sib really could. As long as he keeps up with the hourglasses and keeps up with the orb placements, then he should be fine. But at the moment, psygib's just all over him here, just keep him at bay. But no! Sadly, he's been trapped, and that's another frag. psygib only needs one more to tie things up. He has the heavy, he has the stack, he has everything, all the ingredients which is required now. But it's a matter of where Sib can be. Only 20 seconds left.
That is really unfortunate for poor old Sib. The intention to escape, but we all heard it. The click. Positions himself to escape. Can he run away for 10 seconds? This is a vital time. Can he do it? psygib is looking to make chase, but I mean, perfect positioning from Sib. I think by all means he could do it. Does he go to it? Does he chase it down? He can't. And that's going to be the map. What a day for Sib it's been.
My goodness. It's like we said earlier, I think an upset is going to happen. Sib's been looking too good, and even though his best maps haven't occurred in the map pool throughout the series, he was looking very strong. But my word, that was unbelievable. Sib showing that progression in the Pro League so far. Being a Titan like psygib isn't an easy feat, as you've seen from the previous two maps.
It's fundamentally, he has to be really proud of that result, not just because he's been able to take out like one of the Titans of the Americas or have a really good result in general. It's just the fact that he knows now, look, if I can take it to psygib, who else can he take it to? It's all about just progression for these kind of players. Sib went into stage one as, I mean, you know, let's not beat around the bush, a player that no one was really looking at, and he was very up and down in stage one, and he was relegated, for crying out loud. He was not really a player that you were really fixated on at an early stage. But, I mean, he did exceptionally well during stage two's challenges. Today, he's been really showing us how far he has come as a player in terms of just how well-rounded he is becoming. It's, for me, a celebration of what Pro League can do for individual players. He is not the only player that we see in Pro League really kind of climb. You know, he's really starting to hit a stride here, and well done. You know, that's all you can really say about it. Well done for a good day, but we have one more map left to go.
Yeah, you know, scrims are very different compared to the actual tournament setting. It doesn't matter if it's online or offline. The main thing is, you know, you feel that extra pressure or the extra adrenaline going forward, and you can't really purposely force yourself to experience like that when you're practicing. It's just not possible. You have to be in the moment, and that's why sometimes a lot of LAN experience can actually help you along the way. But as you saw from there, you're talking about the North American scene and have some of the players. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sib has been on an absolute tear, but he was grinding throughout stage 2 to try and get back into the Pro League, and he's proved himself. And it's a great thing to see. You know, he's a great player. He's got a great mindset. He seems to be really thoroughly learning exactly what everyone's been up to in that kind of retrospect. But even during stage 1, he's got a bit of a feel what the Pro League's like anyway. And you've got others as well. You know, I could name almost all of them. Like Chain's been doing really well recently.
Oh, yeah.
And even like players like Dramus, he went up and up and up throughout the stage 2, like without dropping a match at one point for like the last few weeks of the stage. And even doing little bits here and there. Every single one of them has shown not just extra effort and progression, but they've shown that their skill ceiling has been on the rise, like incredibly. And it's been for some players it's more rapid, some it's been a little bit slower, but at least you've seen it physically happen in these matches.
It makes me happy to see because it just shows that Americas is becoming really kind of more than the Rafa show, you know, because Rafa is always that kind of player that you see and he does really well. And, you know, he's always the one to look at. I know stage 2 finals has definitely changed that perspective. It's not just Rafa beating the Americas. It is Rafa beating everyone. He's currently the most dominant that we've seen. But it is just the fact that everyone around him in this part of the world is also just increasing their ability. And Sib is proving to be one of those kind of miracle examples. He's one of the newer blood players. And today has just been a nice demonstration of how far he's been able to come. That said, we have one more map left to go. It is going to be an interesting matchup of Athena versus Keel. Not something that you see every day, that's for sure. Keel, very popular on this map. Athena, for a map that can be as combat heavy, quite the glass cannon. I think this pick is going to have to... It has to work, right? It has to work, and it has to work early. Otherwise, it could be quite a runaway for psygib if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, he's on the final map now, and we'll have to see what he can do with his kill in favor of Sib. Athena, at least he can catch up if need be or get away when necessary. So I think both these players have got the right champion picks. It just depends if it goes in their favor or not, depending on the scenario they put themselves in. But that was a lovely rocket there. Sib's already on the back foot, and my word, what a frag there from psygib.
I mean, Sib, it's going to be light versus heavy on a map like this, where even if Sib is able to secure a frag, he has to be really mindful of his stack. And psygib, we've seen time and time again, an absolute surgeon with those grenades. It's something that can hurt. And going into this fight now, Sib, no armor in play, which is already quite scary. It's no wonder psygib is pressing the advantage the way he is, because if he's able to just, you know, maneuver around the map and keep his stack going and deny stuff from Sib, what does Sib even have to fight back with? That said, he's pushing a good rocket to try and create some breathing space, but it's not going to be enough yet. He is going to be one frag down, so he's the one that needs to make something happen. Mega spawning, but a wonderful rail. psygib looking for a second. He's hungry for more. Nice shot and good use of cover there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. He managed to pull it off anyway and is keeping psygib on the back foot, but Sib's looking fantastic now, considering the poor start he had to begin with. But psygib's just going to play it slow for the time being. He's in a good enough spot as it is, but it's trying to work out where he could be hiding at this point. But psygib now has a rough idea exactly where he is, but he's going to try and push through, contest the heavy, but he doesn't. But at least he gets a rail off to make matters a little bit worse for Sib. But oh, just a barely missed rail, but now he has the mega. Will Sib actually try and push through? Yes, he does, but it goes for the telly anyway. Gets a nice rail off, but it's going to trade through. He's only on 40 HP. He needs to back up at this point. But Willie, though, it looks like he would be trying to sit back just a little bit more. But both have a similar stack anyway.
Looking for any angle he can get his hands on. If he stuck around for an extra time, there might have been a potential to get a rail there. Obviously, we have the benefit of X-ray, so he doesn't have that. But in these situations, like Sib, he has to show so much respect, and he has to be careful. I do love the use of his grappling hook, though. He is creating some unorthodox entryways that psygib isn't 100% prepared for. I think you kind of need to do that in this situation, because if psygib controls the high ground, Sib can't be too predictable with how he goes for these items. Right, if he pushes for the mega, and it's way too predictable, he just doesn't have the health, and trade. But again, a trade that's not going to favor him with as weak as he is. Mistimes the grappling hook, and a little bit greedily, perhaps, tries to go back for it again. Wonderful positioning of the grenade. psygib shutting down every possible outcome. And Sib sticking around it too long.
He had to be taken down. He was on 1 HP. He was just knocking on death's door at that point. Now psygib still on his toes, still keeping on his toes for the time being, making sure that he can't get any rockets. At the moment, Sib hasn't got any rockets to play with. psygib knows that, it's got all the knowledge in the world, but it's still going to hover around that kind of area to keep him at bay. Make sure his weapon, his arsenal, isn't looking too good, but his stack though, psygib's looking very healthy, looking very good, and Sib just trying to battle for survival at this point until he gets something going.
Yeah, this is tough for Sib. It's going to take him quite a while to whittle down the stack to a point where he can actually fight. You can see right now, I'm noticing by observing Sib that he's just kind of, he's having to play hyper defensive. He's listening out for those sound cues. Cannot get, I mean, you just can't get caught out. You just look at the stack difference that psygib has, the benefit of those heavies all the time. And then you combine that with the massive damage that Keel can output, and the fact that Athena, she can't really take punishment. Like one rail, and now he's 65 HP. He's railable and then some. All it takes is one decent rocket at that health, and you're dead. psygib, loads of stack, and Sib. He needs to play defensively and get some damage first. But as long as psygib is hitting these really irritatingly unfortunate shots, going in, Sib, he's going to press the advantage, but look at how much stack he wasn't able to deal with. Even after the rails, how much damage is he hitting, but he just can't get it. It's not enough. But psygib is weak, but not in time for the Mega. That's the problem. Sib is doing so much work, but it amounts to nothing. The stack difference and the fact that psygib is having perfect upper ground positioning. I'm not even really sure what Sib's able to do in this position. psygib is just playing it perfectly.
The difference between the two players now is the fact that, as usual, Sib is relying on the rail, which he should be to get the chip damage and then try and push through afterwards, but he needs to get at least 2 shots off before he can. But psygib isn't even using the rail barely, he's just using defensive rockets to keep him at bay. Because at least then, even if he did miss a rail, at least he's got guaranteed damage done with the rockets, and he's doing that constantly, and he's doing it so well. And Bale, it's much harder, and already again, pressing his lead further. Sib needs to try and work out what needs to be done. Yeah, sure, his rails are good, but he needs to get at least 2 off before he can even try and make a push to get his first frag on the board.
I think this is a great matchup for psygib, and you're combining the fact that he has one of the best keels that we've really seen, and the damage is peppering. Sib has an opportunity, but psygib's ready again. But I say this is a favorable matchup for him because Sib, his rail has kind of been on fire all day. This is a matchup where the rail is not make or breaking the fight. psygib can afford to take these kind of little bits of damage that would otherwise be massively impactful, and he's just tanking it. He's tanking it, hitting the shots, and just establishing threat all over the map. This has been an entire map of Sib having to just work around it and retreat from psygib, while psygib is just bullying him all the way through. There's been no presence. No presence all the way, Harry.
No, you're right, no, because I think the word we're looking for is versatility, and he doesn't have up the rail on a map like Bale. It's so difficult, and if psygib's defensive rockets have been on point and he's predicting it well, then it's, you know, it's hard to come across by him. Even then, Sib is just not even trying to make a comeback, he's just trying to stay alive at this point. And even with just over 3.5 minutes to go, it's going to be very difficult for him to make a comeback. psygib again, continuing with this large stack, and he's just making Sib, just making matters worse and worse and worse. Yeah, sure, he won the series, but at this map at this point, it's heavily in favour of psygib unless Sib does something, I don't know, massively wrong, but I don't think he will. I think it could be a little too late at this point.
I'm going to be very curious to see the end of game damage here. It seems very likely that Sib might even have more damage. It's just not enough. That's it. In this matchup, damage doesn't cut the mustard. It's psygib has just established him, and he's playing well. He's playing perfectly. He's had control from the moment he got that first frag. The control has been his. He's had perfect timing on both of them. Sib, there was a miscalculation early on the heavy, unfortunately, but mistiming things isn't really something that psygib's been doing at all. And because he's been so comfortable, he hasn't lost timing in any way. Why would he? He's just running the circuit. He's taking all the important items. If he's not taking it, he's in a position where he can at least hear it. Like even now, even if he doesn't manage to get the heavy, he can hear it or see it. So the timing is still there. Damage is there. Finally, Sib strong arms his way back into the fight. Gets a frag, but 7.5 minutes in, it took too long, I think. Gets the fights, and even fresh off the spawn, he's again able to get a frag, but at what cost? Sib is so weak. And look at the spawn stack from Keel.
He could just continuously hide at this point and be able to actually take this map, but we know psygib isn't interested in that at all. He wants to keep it on the push as much as he can. Misses the first rail, he's going to try and go for the second one, misses that as well. He may have to give out the heavy, but Sib just barely managed to get it himself. And my way is going to try and push it in as much as he can, but Sib takes him down, but still 2 minutes left to play. It's going to be extremely difficult for him, but we've seen some weirder things. As long as he keeps the aggression up, but not with the lack of stack at this point. But you know, you were talking about earlier with psygib and what he's been up to with the rail and like how he's actually doing it. His defensive rockets have been the key here in terms of keeping up his position. But I'll tell you what, we've seen a lot of kill now on Vale over the last week or two, and I think because of that, and we've seen how not overpowered but how balanced he is against some of the other champions. But we're probably going to see a lot more kill on Vale. My word, again, another rail. But that's my point. We'll see a lot more kill on this map on Pro League, Challenger League. It doesn't matter what it is, or even in matchmaking, we're going to see a lot more.
The thing is, Sib is now having what would have been the comeback of his life. There's just not enough time. The entire play of pushing really hard, this would have worked. It just happened too late. That's all there is. You can see how Sib, he's playing so aggressive. Yes, psygib is spawning with a good stack, but he's got the speed to make it work. This movement is really crisp. He's hitting the shots. I almost feel really bad because if it was maybe 30 seconds earlier, he was able to get this frag, it might be more beneficial. But he's going full speed ahead. Psygib's going to be running and fighting back a little bit, of course, just to try and get one more frag, but the way Sib is approaching this final phase, if he just got a frag a minute before, maybe there would have been like the comeback of champions, but not so much near the end here.
Yeah, it would depend on the trade-offs as well, depending on how much stack he has afterwards. Even then, you have to try and regain, and we know what the default stack is like for the kills, so even then it's extremely dangerous. But even then, 10 seconds left to go. psygib managed to take things up 12-7. GGs do come in. And my word, you know, there was a slight comeback here and there for Sib, but at least he made the effort, but it just wasn't enough. And psygib, at least he managed to take a map off the board, but it's Sib who does take the series. And as you can see from the damage, you were saying, did Sib do maybe more damage? Maybe he didn't. He definitely did. Nearly 900 or about 850 damage was taken in favour of Sib. And just so that psygib defensive play was just extremely good.
Yeah, it was a perfect demonstration where damage sometimes isn't everything. And you kind of expect to see that in a matchup like that. Athena, she's got the movement. And I mean, the execution was there. We certainly saw Sib bring that, especially when, you know, the sort of like comeback, but not a comeback was being made near the end, where we kind of get a glimpse at what could have been if he just got a frag a little bit earlier than he did to start to mount that momentum. But overall, this was still a phenomenal showing for Sib. I think he's going to leave that feeling good. I know it was a map loss at the end, but it was a very unusual matchup, and it's psygib using Keel. You can't be surprised that there was a crazy good showing from him, but it wasn't just down to like the fact that hey, he's got a good Keel. He was just dominating the map all the way through. He had great control. The first frag went probably a bit too soon, and it was too soon to allow psygib to just keep that presence of the map from an early stage, where Sib was playing around that almost immediately. And that's one of those dangers that when psygib is hitting all the shots he needs to hit, he's able to tank a whole bunch of damage. And he knows that, you know, in those fights, he's not shy of giving a position away if it means he can get a return rail, because if they both trade a rail and he's got more stack, who cares? He wins, because you can take 2 rails, he can take like 5, you know, if there's stuff around. And he just played it crazy strong. But just a good showing from both players. But ultimately, the winner of the day being Sib, a great demonstration of how far he's coming as a player. This Sib in stage 3 is not even close to the Sib we saw in stage 1. He's more comfortable now. And I think that makes a more dangerous player, the more comfortable they get.
It just seems like a completely different person. It's like,
yeah, it does.
You know, what have you done with him? Is this his twin? Like, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. But in terms of standings in just the Americas alone, at least he's probably around the halfway point. So that's to go from challenges to now halfway around in the Pro League in terms of his continent. That's pretty impressive stuff, and it's only going to get better from there. Now that he's beaten psygib, he's probably thinking to himself, well, what more can I do? Can I cause more upsets? But even then, the more of the top players in the Americas he beats, the more he will establish himself as one of the better players in the region. And I think that's what he's after. I think that stage, after stage 1, that was for some players, you just need a bit of a shock to the system to go, oh my God, like, I was in Pro League and now I'm in challenges. Like, what am I doing? Like, some people may just fall off and give up, or some people may fall off and go, right, look, let's reset mentality. Let's try and sort this out. I played awful. Let's actually, resort my life out in terms of how I want to progress this and do all the research and VODs I can and practice and grind. And he has done. And then the guy is living proof of that, which is great to see.
He's been riding a gauntlet, hasn't he? It was stage 1, then it was challenges. He's been through kind of like every aspect of the Quake Pro League, and here he is now looking better than ever, and for good reason. Thanks for watching so far. I believe we're going into our next matchup, Toxic versus Sparty. Promises to be a good one. We'll see how it goes in a few minutes' time as we cut to a break. This is week number 5, stage 3, Quake Pro League. See you soon.